And welcome to Globetrotting with Gillespie. Yes, it's me, Dana Gillespie, sitting on some comfortable chairs down at the Temple of Art and Music. And today I'm going to be interviewing somebody who's more used to interviewing people or reviewing things, music especially. And if you ever turn on something like Sky Arts, he's permanently on there talking marvellously about music, because I actually like a man that's got some knowledge and not somebody that talks twaddle. And thank goodness this guest doesn't. I'd like you to meet Will Hodgkinson.
Thank you very much. Now here comes some twaddle.
Well, we'll both do twaddle, actually. No, you know, Will, I know that you gave me some particularly nice review, or no, it was you gave me a very good kind of write-up in the Sunday Times about my book.
I was quite fascinated with you, Dana, and probably started by hearing Andy Warhol, like it did for most people.
Yeah.
You know, for a lot of people from my generation, I was thinking, wow, I prefer this to the version I know. You know, and so that was what started it for me. And then I heard Foolish Seasons.
Good Lord.
And which is this kind of beautiful, I describe it as a kind of wistful rustic folk. I don't know if that's fair enough, rather innocent, you know. And so then I started hearing, you know, discovering more about you. And I thought, this woman is fascinating. And it was when the book came out, or when it was prior to the book coming out, I really wanted to meet you. And so that's when I asked the paper if I could do a feature on you, and then we did, and it went well, and here we are.
Well, actually, I'm amazed that you mentioned Foolish Seasons, because that came out in 66, 67, but this year, in April, they're re-releasing it on World Record Store Day, which is quite nice, and then they're going to do a box set. But I don't want to talk about me, although for people who don't know, when Will mentioned Andy Warhol, it's not the man who was in New York, it's actually the song that Bowie wrote for me, called Andy Warhol. And I did my version first, and Bowie liked it so much, because he's on the version, that he did his own version, which came out before mine, but was recorded after mine.
That's how, yeah, so I mean, I grew up with Hunky Dory. That was the album. That was the one, you know, so I went to, went away to a friend's house for the weekend. He had this really dishy older sister who I fancied. I was 12. There's no chance of anything happening. She was far too cool, although she did do a striptease. But anyway.
Oh, well, hey, that's not bad.
Yeah, but we don't have to go down that path.
Well, no, I think it's pretty good. Every young man of 12 should have a striptease.
It's kind of torture at that age. But I remember her sitting me down, and she, you know, on the little record player downstairs in Wiltshire, and she said, now this song is about an artist called Andy Warhol. And he's what's called a pop artist. I was going, oh yeah, okay. Anyway, so I always loved that album. And I didn't really, at that age, obviously, I didn't know about your version. And I heard it later and thought, this is fantastic. And so, you know, that's like I said, that was my introduction to you.
Well, strangely enough, I'm doing an album here at the Temple of Art and Music. I'm going to record live in March, and I'm going to redo another version of Andy Warhol, kind of blues it up. But I was thinking about the lyrics. I'd like to take a cement fix, be a standing cinema. Bowie used to write very abstract, and I like to sing about love and things. But enough about me. How did you start off being a writer? No, where did you start in this music business? How?
Okay, so
by accident.
Kind of by accident. I mean,
good.
Okay, so the way it happened is I was always loved music.
Yeah. And
I was the kind of guy, I remember all the kids at school picking up guitar, and then they'd been playing for 6 months, and stupid, I thought, well, I can't do that, you know, because I'm Johnny come lately. So I didn't at that age.
Yeah.
But I loved the whole culture of music. And also I was growing up in the 1980s, and the music was rubbish. You know, it's living in a box by living in a box. And so I started discovering David Bowie, the Rolling Stones, the Beatles, and it was very easy at this time to buy those records. They were knocking about the place.
Yeah.
And you know, you start getting to the Byrds and Buffalo Springfield and so on and so on and so on. And so that was my passion. And I always loved writing. I had kind of lofty ideas that I was going to be some novelist, you know, as most people do.
Well, you may still be.
Exactly. You know, I'm going to be like the male Mary Wesley. It's going to happen when I'm 70. But
hope it happens with me as well. Yes.
But what happened was I was doing all kinds of different bits and pieces, and I came back from India, and I was there for 6 months.
Where, by the way, in India?
I was in Varanasi.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah, no, absolutely
Kashi,
loved it.
as it used to be called.
Exactly. I went there to write a book, and I did write a book, which didn't get published, but it's an amazing experience. And I came back, I was living with my girlfriend in King's Cross. We were paying very low rent, and I was just doing anything to make rent, which was minimal. So I was driving a van, I was working in a brewery, I was doing anything. And a friend said, I'm working at Time Out magazine. Would you like to start reviewing? We do a Time Out shopping guide, and you can review record shops. And you got paid next to nothing, but it all went into the shopping guide, and that was something. And then I started doing some work on the Guardian Guide, now sadly departed. And I was I just got a few days a week doing subbing work, which is basically literally just going through the cinema listings and making it fit and all that kind of stuff. And because I'd always been into music, I started just kind of trying to pitch ideas, and then a few started coming through, and one thing led to another. And then I started at Times about 10 years ago. And so then, I'm the music critic for the Times. And so from then on, it's full on. Then I'm at gigs three nights a week, traveling all the time, interviewing people. It's really my life.
Well, actually, you're very lucky, because it's a joy to be involved with music in whatever form, in my opinion. I mean, do you get sent mountains of albums that you then have to listen to? Yes,
I get sent a lot, but what happens is that there are certain ones which that you're going to have to cover. If it's the new Taylor Swift or whatever it is,
right.
You know that that's going to be the lead review. Yeah. Then there's other ones which might catch my interest, and then sometimes there are things that I like, and I know that it isn't going to be a big thing necessarily, but is a good thing.
Yeah.
And so this is what I'm always trying to do. The Times is a mainstream newspaper, but what I really love doing is when I get one away, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
I get something away that I think deserves to have a light shone on it, that's interesting. So it's got integrity, it comes from the heart, and someone's doing something creative. So to do that is always a great joy.
Well, actually, you gave me quite a nice review on my last album,
there
Deep Pockets.
There you go, Dana.
Thank you. Which was my 72nd album, so I'm about to hit the 73rd.
And the first one I'd reviewed. So,
well, I don't want to bore you with the next lot that come out, but I will whenever it gets done. Now, you mentioned India, because we have a similar thing. How come you were in India for 6 months? What age were you then? But you've been there before, hadn't you?
Yeah, I was about 26, 27 then. Yeah. Okay, so the story goes, I grew up in a very normal, not hippie, conventional, middle class, Volvo in the drive, semi-detached house in Richmond, like suburbia. Parents were working hard, making money, we were going to the local school, all the rest of it. Anyway, then my father, when I was 12, had a sort of Damascene revelation, and he sort of saw God and the Buddha and, more than he really should have. And he, after a period of soul searching, he discovered an Indian spiritual group run entirely by women called the Brahma Kumaris.
Yes.
Now, the Brahma Kumaris are quite, it's all about peace and meditation, but it's also quite extreme if you really follow it. It's very non-materialistic. The Brahma Kumaris are celibate. You don't indulge in the senses in any way. So the food is very basic, and you can't even have onion and garlic. It's ashram kind of culture.
Well, they don't, onion and garlic, I think Jains don't have that either.
Right, yeah,
and
I think it's within Indian culture.
I personally don't like onion and garlic, so I think I must have been one of those in a past life. So you were there when he went over there and took the family with him?
He didn't take me then. What happened was that we were still living in Richmond.
Yeah.
My parents were still together.
Yeah.
But our house became the unofficial centre for the Brahma Kumaris Richmond branch. And so I would be 12 and I'd come home from my BMX, which is my great joy at that age, before I discovered girls. And, I would literally come into the living room and there'd be 30 people dressed in white.
Yeah, they only wear white,
exactly,
don't they?
Staring at a golden egg on the wall. And then I was like, okay, I can't handle this. I'd go into the bar, I'd go into the garden and there'd be some yogi kind of communing with a daffodil. Right. And it was like, this is just too much. And suddenly my father was talking about the end of the world and a 5,000-year cycle and all of these ideas, which, bear in mind, they were atheists before.
Yeah.
And so suddenly, it was almost overnight, I was dealing with these very strange ideas. And I did a book on it called The House is Full of Yogis.
I know. Where can I get a copy of this? Is it online?
You can get it. Yeah, you buy it
second
on Amazon,
hand,
whatever. Yeah, no, it came out, and it's you can buy it in the bookshop.
I'm
whatever.
gonna order it. I want to read it because I like those kind of things. You know, personally, because you know, from my book, I had a Damascene revelation.
Well, you had a Sai Baba revelation.
Yeah, that was about 40 years ago.
Yeah.
I was going to ask you, when you were in Varanasi, did you go into the Ganges? Did you immerse yourself?
Yes, I did.
So did I.
I did, yeah.
And they always say that if you do that, you're going to be whatever, you're cleansed and sorted for life. I don't know.
Yeah, I did get quite ill. So I don't know if I was quite cleansed, but I was cleansed spiritually. No, I absolutely fell in love with Varanasi. To me, there's something about Varanasi which felt like you were somewhere between life and death, and I don't mean that in a bad way. There's something about the old city. First of all, as you know, there are open cremations, and so you can see these bodies
down
being
at the
burnt.
burning ghats.
Down at the burning ghats, and you know, through these tiny little alleyways, you'll see these. I guess funeral processions.
The bodies being carried all wrapped in the material things.
Exactly.
I went into the water, and just as I was there, a marvellous whole skeleton of, I don't know whether it was a human or an animal, went right past me, and I thought, yeah, I've done it.
You've done it. The strangest thing I saw was, I mean, it's quite macabre, really. I was on the ghats, which are, you know, just in case people don't know, are all built up. There's steps, you know, concrete steps. And I saw an arm, a human arm. Just there, and it wasn't a skeletal arm. It looked like it was quite fresh.
Well, I remember seeing a dog running off with somebody's hand, which had fallen out of the burning bit. Marvelous. The trouble is, we could talk for hours about India, I'm sure, because you know, you were talking about then you were 12 and young, and then much later, from this gap in between, how on earth did you kind of deal with the transition at the home life? That must have been interesting.
It was strange, yeah. I mean, the thing is, my dad's really nice, but my mum's really nice too, but she was interested in it without becoming a Brahma Kumari. So she was very interested because she was getting very much into feminism, and so she liked the idea of it being run by women.
Yes.
She was questioning everything. She's questioning all the different aspects of her life, which she said, interestingly, it's because she gave up smoking. She said she gave up smoking. It's the hardest thing she ever did in her life.
Normal cigarettes or dope?
Oh no, my mother's a very
normal cigarettes.
Yeah, no, normal cigarettes. Okay. Yeah, I mean, players number 6, you know. And she said that, you know, 20 a day minimum. She said giving up smoking was so hard that she started looking around at her life to see what else she could give up.
Yeah.
I think the first thing she saw was her husband.
Get rid of the flotsam and jetsam.
Exactly.
Oh, well, you've had a really, really fascinating childhood, actually, and growing up.
Yeah, because it wasn't, you know, like I said, it wasn't bohemian, it was normal. It was suburban middle class, but it didn't stay that way. Halfway through it, we became, you know, we're a bunch of meditating freaks.
Well, nothing wrong with that, actually.
No, I did meditation yesterday, so, you know.
Well, I do mine every morning, but it's only about 5-10 minutes long. But I think life should be one long meditation, being always careful about being nice to everyone, giving off good vibrations, try not to say anything bad about anyone if possible. And I always like the story that a very wise master was walking along a road with his disciples, you could say, and he sees a dead dog in the street, and he goes and he has a look, and all his followers go, ooh, horrible, smelly, nasty. But the wise man goes, yes, but look at his beautiful white teeth. So we have to look at the beautiful white teeth in everyone.
Yeah, it's true. And that was something, you know, people have often said to me, oh, I can't believe what your dad did. You know, I mean, because he kind of gave us over, and, you know, he basically joined the Brahma Kumari family. But I always say, he taught us a lot.
Yeah.
By example. He's a nice man, and he was very, very, you know, there's a lot of wisdom we got from him, and this idea of not judging people, that was the key. I mean, I had friends whose parents were like, why aren't you a doctor? Why aren't you a lawyer? Why aren't you this? And my dad, maybe because he wasn't that interested, but he always used to say, oh, yeah, well done. I saw a, you know, 100-word review or something, you know, it's like I got paid 20 quid for. And he'd be going, no, that's great. You really followed your own path. So that was nice.
So now your path is totally wound up with music. I can't think of a better thing to be wound up in. I mean, it really is it's the reason for living as far as I'm concerned. You know, it's just, so do you get up every day and listen to a load of albums because you have to?
No, what would happen is that, first of all, you know, because it's my job, there'd be a lot of writing up. So I might be, there's a lot of writing up interviews. You know, I'm working on a book at the moment, so that's taking up a lot of time. And then
the subject is?
The subject is, okay, I think it's going to be called In Perfect Harmony, as in I'd like to teach the world to sing in.
Perfect harmony, yes.
Exactly. And the subhead is going to be Sing Along Pop in 70s Britain. So it's basically about all of the stuff that really got out there in Britain. You know, Chirpy Chirpy Cheep Cheep, Clive Dunn's Grandad, you know, St Winifred's School Choir, There's No One Quite Like Grandma. The things that people thought were absolutely terrible, but said a lot about Britain at the time when we're going through the 3-day week, the winter of discontent, joining Europe, and suddenly everyone's going on package holidays and bringing back Una Paloma Blanca. You know, so it's about that. It's about the impact that the sing-along pop had on Britain, but also what it said about Britain at the time.
Well, actually, Britain was going through a great thing. When you mentioned about the Chirpy Chirpy Cheep Cheep, all around this place, I don't know if you've seen in here these dreadful Top of the Pops, which I did with Elton when he was still Reg.
Well, that's part of the book, you know, and that's part of the book. I think you're getting a mention in there, actually.
There are people that collect them. I sometimes get them in charity shops for 50p if I'm lucky, and they're all around here in the Temple of Art and Music. So when is this book meant to be finished, or is that hopeless to ask somebody?
No. I've got a very tight deadline. It's meant to be finished by March, which is soon.
Gosh.
Yeah, I know. I've written most of it. It won't come out until autumn.
Okay.
So there'll be time to do some editing and everything. But I've kind of done it. I mean, so the other day I was speaking to Leo Sayer, who lives in Australia. I mean, what a guy. You know, he sort of, the thing about Leo Sayer, I always felt that he sort of looked like a pop star who needed adult supervision. You know, there's something about him which suggested that when he went down to the disco, and he did do disco, you know, his mum might have packed him, you know, packed lunch with a sort of Twix bar in there, you know, in case he got hungry. He seemed like a bit of, you know, sort of a child in the nicest possible way. And he sort of turned out like that. Very, very smart, but also quite chirpy and innocent.
Well, I know in 1974, 73, I had a guitarist called Les Nichol, who then left my band. He came in after Mick Ronson. And anyway, we could talk forever, but we can't, because Globetrotting is meant to be kind of short, because most people don't have very long attention spans, do they? Most people don't, you know, nobody sits down and listens to anything anymore. I'm horrified by TikTok, but I'm old school. You know,
Well, let's hope they listen to us.
Yes, absolutely. Anything else you'd like to say about the world at this moment? Because, I mean, you're here to look at my gig and just have a bit of fun.
The world at the moment, I feel, let's get going again. That's just my feeling. You know, I admire people who want to do things right now. You know, and I don't mean that in any kind of silly way, you know, but I mean, you know, let's live again. And so this is what I'm so happy to be here. This is perfect for me.
A gig straight after Christmas. And I've got to say, you know, I search for anything decent to watch on television, but I always know if I'm lucky, I'll find you on Sky Arts talking sensibly.
Oh, okay.
I assume you've got to quickly prep up before each act comes out, or have you got all this information in your head permanently?
Oh, no. What generally happens with Sky Arts is they'll say the subjects we're going to talk about the week before or whatever, and I'll do research. And, you know, some of them I know very well, some of them I don't. You know, I mean, if it's something like, I don't know, the Stones or something which I've loved all my life, I'm on, you know, I'm okay. But if it's, you know, there's plenty of stuff that I don't know so well.
I've seen you talk about some acts, and I thought he must have just quickly looked it up, because you wouldn't have been listening to it normally. But it's great. I love your knowledge.
Well, what I've found, especially doing this book, which is about, like I said, it's about the things that aren't necessary, that music journalists don't normally write about. It's not the cool stuff, but you start seeing the beauty in it. You know, often these songs are so clever, and, you know, they seem like Chirpy Chirpy Cheep Cheep. What could be more meaningless? And yet it's transcendentally fluffy. You know, it's kind of going into the realms of the spiritual.
And the fact that we can all even name it now, years and years later.
And it's such a great song.
Well, I think on that note, we have to leave Will Hodgkinson here on the sofa, because anyway, they were about to start the blues jam down here at the Temple of Art and Music, and then it's my gig with the band. So I want to say thank you for watching. Thank you for Will to coming along.
Thanks, Dana.
And well, this is the new year, and let's hope everything gets better.
Let's hope so.
Toodaloo.
You know I've been around, I'm experienced, and I've lived my life to the bone. But I can't explain what's happening to me, but I sure can feel that pull. Like a moth to a flame, I'm yearning, I'm burning up, there ain't no turning back. Whatever it is, it's getting close in here, and I feel I'm about to crack. Funk me, it's hot. What sort of fever have I got? Funk me, it's hot. Funk me now, give it all it's got. Something strange is going on, though I can't see it with my eyes. Now there's some kind of fire, and it's taking me higher, and I can feel it, feel my temperature rise. Oh, funk me, it's hot. What sort of fever have I got? Funk me, it's hot. Funk me now, give it all you got. fever have I got? Funk me, it's hot.
Oh, good God.
Funk me now, give it all you got. Well, tell me, is it true? Can you feel it too? Though I don't think I fantasize. How's there some kind of fire, and it's taking me higher, and I can feel it, feel my temperature rise. Oh, funk me, it's hot. What sort of fever have I got? Funk me, it's hot. Funk me now, give it all you got.
Good God.
Oh, funk me, it's hot. Funk me now till you get the lot. Funk me, it's hot.
Come on.
Funk me now, give it all you got. Funk me. Thank you.